Hey everyone, so you're here on this channel, my channel, because you know we're going to give you the information, we're going to give you the stats, we're going to give you everything. So if you are, number one, moving to Nova Scotia from somewhere within Canada, number two, moving to Nova Scotia from anywhere else in the world, or number three, you're just here in Nova Scotia and you just want to keep on top of the market because maybe you're thinking of selling, maybe you're in the buying market, maybe it's time to invest in real estate. Well, we're going to give you all the stats right here on my channel. Hey everyone, Richard Payne here from Halifax Homes and Lifestyles at eXp Realty, and we are going to cover off for you the stats for September. We're at the beginning of October. We know it's been a crazy month, but you're here because you want to find out what the stats are, whether you're moving from somewhere else or whether you're just here in the market and you want to know what's going on. You know that this little channel here, of which you're going to do two things. Number one, subscribe, and number two, hit the bell, because then you're going to get notified of all the stuff that we're putting out there. But you're here because you know every single month we give you the stats because we need you to stay informed of what's going on in the market. Now, August, we know, took a drop in the average sales price. Now, everything else stayed the same. Still not a lot of houses for sale, still sold a lot of houses. Meant we had like 0.8 months of inventory, not very much at all. But we just know that the price came down, so nothing really changed. Well, in September, price went straight back up again. So we're now sitting at $521,837. So let's call it $522,000. That is up 9% on last month, and it is also up 31% on last year. Now we know that last year in June is kind of when the market went bonkers, like it went bananas. Then everything started selling, we started going over asking price. And it was interesting because if you looked at the first 9 months of this year, number of houses sold, first 9 months of last year, number of houses sold, practically the same number. It's like 4,900 homes have actually been sold. It's just the way that the market shifted is where it actually changed. So like we didn't actually, like we've been strong all year, just really at a lower volume, purely because there just haven't been enough houses for sale. So therefore our overall volume selling was lower. Now, if we go back to last year, the first quarter, 5 months of last year were actually like just almost like a normal month with like kind of reduced volume. And then it took off like a rocket in June last year. So that's really been the big shift for this year, is we've been all high kind of practically every month, which is why when you look at some of the volume, we'll see shortly that we're actually down on last year in terms of the volume we sold. And that's just because the back half of the year was so heavily loaded with a lot of volume and a lot of sales, a lot of transactions, that when you look at this year, it's probably not going to show up the same. So, you know, are we going to actually go less houses sold this year versus last year? Yeah, we probably are in terms of volume. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually affects the whole year overall. But right now, like I said, looking at price, plus 9% on last year, plus 31% on last year. Average sale to list price has actually come down a little bit, $105,000, you wish. 105% of sale to list price. So the average list price was $497,000. Average sale price was $522,000. So that's interesting because what it means is it doesn't mean that we're not going over asking price, because that's about $25,000 over asking price that we're actually paying on average in the whole of HRM. Some markets are obviously quite substantially more than that, and I've done quite a few deals recently where we've had to go substantially over asking price to get the deals done, as well as basically on the purchase price. Like when we've been listing and selling houses, it's been the same. But when you look at that, I think what it means to everybody is that the average listing price is coming up to be more in line kind of where the market should be. So let's go back like a year ago. We were probably listing houses still kind of in this range when really they should have been in this range. So when people were actually offering and selling the houses, the sale price was so much higher, and then you ended up with this big gap. Well, now we've come up to list about here, so the gap is a little bit less. That's really what I'm seeing from the numbers here. Now, when we look at days on market, we are 18 days on market. That's actually gone up a little bit because at some stage during this year, we were down at around about 12 days on market. So we're up to 18 days, you know, on average. Different markets, we'll go into some of those. We'll give you different numbers, but on average, 18 days. Number of houses sold was 467, and this is the interesting bit. Down 33% on last year, so that's a third lower than we were actually last year. 33% down on last month, so like a big dip from August volume to September volume, which is surprising because September has been feels like a crazy month in terms of activity. So to see the volume decrease, it's a little bit strange. And we're also down 11% on last year, so we're actually behind on last year's numbers by around about 45, maybe 50 houses. Number of houses active, only 403. In a marketplace where we've got 500,000 people, to only have 400 homes for sale, it's not a lot. So guess what happens? Market inventory is at 0.9. Last year, that was at 1.2, more or less the same month as August, same number as August. So not really too much of a change there. But what it looks like when you look at the actual volume of homes sold is kind of a combination of those two things that we were talking about. The first one is last year was obviously so much stronger because there were more listings available. So that's the second reason. We've actually got less inventory to sell, so we can't actually get through it all. So there's still tons of buyers out there that are trying to find the right houses. So if you've got your house coming up for sale, or you're thinking of selling, or you're up for sale, now's the right time. Really is. We've got some houses coming up in the Fall River area where I live, and we're everybody's clambering to get in to see them first, but that's the marketplace. Now let's look at the sales to new listings. 97%. So we sold 467, we listed 479. Let's call it the same number. So for every one house that came on the market, one house was sold. It's going to keep inventory flat. It's not really going to change anything, and that's why we're practically the same number as we were last month in August. So those are the stats. It's not a lot that's actually changing. I am fairly surprised that we're up at $522,000. That's a big number for our Halifax area. But I did say that if we look at some of the top markets, and we've got a tie for third place in terms of the volume in the marketplace here. We've got 3 different areas that all sold exactly the same number of houses. But coming in at number 1 was Woodland, Portland Estates area. 35 homes sold, only 15 available. That gives them half a month of inventory. Average selling price there was $425,000 and roughly $40,000 over asking price. 12 days on market. So I think it's the first time I've seen Woodlawn and Portland Estates actually come up into the top 5. They didn't bother with any of the ones that just came straight in at number 1. So good for them. Number 2, East Hants, Colchester. $331,000 there. 34 homes sold. 57 available. Not bad. So getting close to 2 months of inventory at 1.7 there. 16 days on market. $13,000 on average over asking price. So that's actually a fairly reasonable number compared to this. Now we have the 3-way tie. So in third place with 33 homes sold, is Bedford and Lower Sackville and Timberley, Prospect, Upper Tantallon area. But here's the interesting thing. Bedford, average sell price there, $660,000, just under a month of inventory, 18 days on market, $12,000 over asking price. So pretty close actually from asking versus list price there. Lower Sackville, well, if you're in Lower Sackville now, it's $410,000 average selling price. List to sale price there, 111%. So you're talking $40,000 there over asking price. 14 days on market and 11 homes for sale. So 0.3 of a month. So basically no houses for sale, which explains a couple of the offers I've had to do recently in Lower Sackville that have just been incredible, what we've had to try and do to actually get the houses. And then the other joint third place, so call that 5th maybe, Upper Tantallon, Timberley, average price there $588,000. Now there's a couple of big ones that sold in the area, but still that's meaty. $18,000 over asking price, 32 days on market. Gotta think there's a couple of new builds in there somewhere. 48 homes for sale, which gives them 1.5 months of inventory. Now, we do know that Halifax South had a couple of big numbers, their average price point, Halifax South End for stuff that sold was 1.2 million. So they had a couple of big ones, and I do know that Dartmouth, as well as Central Halifax, had some really big meaty numbers in terms of houses that sold the actual price that they did. So, maybe that's something showing that the price has come up to 522, but still, that's 522 is a big number now. So, what used to be a fairly cheap, affordable, dare we say, Nova Scotia is now $500,000 average price point. And some of those starter markets, of which Lower Sackville we considered the starter market, Lower Sackville is now at 410. Like that used to be $235,000. So it's very interesting how that market has changed. But if you need any further details, if you want me to kind of get into the guts of this particular report here, then we've got all the numbers that you need. So, whether you're thinking of buying, whether you think it's time to sell, just get in touch and we'll give you all the information that you need, and we'll take care of you, just like we have done with all our other clients. All the numbers that you need to get hold of me are like coming up here. We've got videos up here, playlists over here. So, just tune in, subscribe, hit the bell, and you will stay in touch with me. You get this British accent talking to you all the time.